Well, hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 89. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion. And this week, we're taking a look at a new challenger in the sampler space, the Korg Kaoss Replay. Is it a rival to the SP404 Mk2, or does it miss the mark? We'll also talk about a new powerful iOS synth from our friends over at AudioKit Pro, and we'll talk recent DAW updates that have been announced and or are out, being Ableton 12, very exciting for Curtis and Eon Lake, and Logic 10.8, very exciting for me. We'll break down what you can expect from these updates and see kind of what's to come with the DAW wars. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today are Eon Lake and Curtis.
Hello, it's going to be a killer episode. I actually heard the opening theme on my computer. Not heard that from. I don't know what you did, Sunwarper. I actually heard it.
I actually did nothing. It was a placebo effect.
Just long enough to start vibing before the show starts and get
that's what we. That's why we have that 2 minutes of Trans-Pacific playing. You know, just kind of get in the zone before we go. Before we get into the news, though, I want to say hello to all of our patrons and friends in our chat. We've got Bendu, who is pulling double duty. It sounds like double booked, so listening but not participating. Well, we are happy to have you listening. We appreciate you hanging out. Yeah. And J-Bell's there. We've got Survey Channel. What do we have to say for ourselves here, folks? Well, I guess that's the whole point of the show, is what we have to say for ourselves, right? You know, so what are you up to, Survey Channel? Let us know. Happy to have you with us as well. If you're in the chat, say hello. We're glad to hear from all of you. Curtis, what have we got going on in the news?
Well, we're going to start, like I said, we've got a bit of a killer episode. And so we're going to start with our gear acquisition syndrome, perhaps. During the week, Korg announced that the Kaoss Replay is going to be coming out. Sunwarper took the lead on this because supposedly it is a bit of a rival to the SP404 Mk2. And I have no authority when it comes to that, and that is totally Sunwarper. So when he's done looking down at what's under his desk,
all right, I just had a bunch of. I have this tower of. I redid my Dallas desk, right? And so I have a tower of these, you know, the noise dampening things. They're all just built up on the side, and I put Obi, my dog's bed, on top of it right before we went live, and that did it. And so right as you were talking, I don't know if everybody heard, like everything just fell, and there's like cables between all of these things. It was very haphazardly constructed, this tower, because I was just trying to get everything moved, but it all fell. So I'm trying to clear it because it's gonna bug me, and it was like hitting my chair. So that's it. Yes. So the Korg Kaoss Replay. On first glance, can you pull up a picture? I think I put the website there.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I'll share my screen.
First glance, it's like, whoa, they're coming for the SP404. And you'll see once we put the picture up. But I saw a lot of first reactions. It was really funny. A lot of first reactions on Twitter and things like that were like, oh, this is like an SP404 competitor. It's coming for it. And yes, there are some similarities. I mean, just look at it. First of all, it does kind of look like it. But there's a lot of big differences. And so first, we'll talk what this has to offer. And then we'll talk the differences as an SP404 user. I want to talk some of the big differences and stuff. But first of all, it's not out yet. It comes out, I believe, January 24th. And the cost per Synthopia, the street price is listed as $1,000. So if we're talking just right from the start, if we're talking about SP404 competition, the SP404 is $450 or $550. This is $1,000. So already we have a bit of a discrepancy between the two. It looks quite cool. It is I guess it's a descendant, but it's like an advanced version of the Kaoss pads, which you can see on this picture that someone's using the touchpad to do effects or something like that to it. So it is there, and it adds sample functionality. Let's see, we've got 128 sample slots, 16 pads, 8 banks for each of up to 100 projects. Each pad allows for 30 minutes of sampling time. Very nice feature. Has 16 high-quality, velocity-sensitive pads for playing, sampling, or resampling. I'll stop for a second. Curtis, what were you going to say?
I was just incredible. Is that 30 minutes per pad, did you say?
Yes.
Fuck. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Get on the SP404, bro. It does even more. The teaser for the differences. The device has 128 slots divided by 8 banks per project with storage on a micro SD card. I believe the SP404 is a normal SD card, so there's another little difference.
Yeah.
Dual group assign system, dedicated faders, BPM detection, sync, and quantization capabilities, sample trimming, and this is actually a really cool feature. Can you go to where, stop on that picture. There's a hot cue system, triggering system, and it's those, let me see if I can bring the picture up. It's those green numbered horizontal little squares. You see that, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are you can do. I was watching a loop pop video. You can do cues on a track, and then when you hit those, it plays those cues. So kind of like you're creating sample pads, but you don't have to chop and do anything like that. So that's where it's at with sampling. Effects. This is an offshoot of the Kaoss pads. So it has 128 Kaoss effects, including filters, delays, reverbs, modulation effects, loopers, vocoders, synth effects. There's vocal effects, including pitch correction, which is really cool, pad motion, and you can do touch hold modes to simplify automation and positioning of things. FX release to like let go. And it also features a dedicated mic input, which the SP does not have, not the new 404 Mark II. And I believe it even has, if you scroll down just a pinch, that fader on the right is for, no, go back up. Just stop. Yeah, right there. That fader on the right is the mic level. So it's got a nice level for mic. Yeah, pretty cool there too. So before we go to the comparisons, chat, anything you have to say about this, or Eon Lake, anything you want to add about this or comment on?
No.
No. Okay. You have an SP404. Does this make you regret your decision?
No.
I love these quotes.
Very succinct this week, aren't I? Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I've got a Kaoss pad and an SP404. I'm wondering if it's kind of like the two combined, really.
It actually can probably do more. There is another really cool thing though that the Kaoss Replay can do that the SP can't do as of yet. Please update Roland. Live looping. There is live looping to a degree on the replay, but from the loop pop video I was watching and from what I was reading, there's not a dedicated metronome. So you would have to put some sort of sample that's playing drums or, make a sort of kick. There's also no sequencer. Another thing we'll get into when we start comparing the SP. But Curtis, before we go to that, anything you want to say about the Kaoss Replay?
I've always wanted to have a Kaoss pad. Never had one. I've been umming about having it in SP404 recently. It reminds me of it's interesting. Eon Lake says it's like he's got an SP404 and he's got a Kaoss pad, and this is like a combination of the two. It reminds me of a bit like, I don't know if you ever heard the old PRS joke, where a PRS is basically trying to look like a Fender and be a Gibson, but does neither of them very well.
That is such a niche joke, and yet I know exactly what you're talking about.
This is the safe place for jokes as niche.
Yeah, this is the guitarist. This is the guitarist segment where we're like, oh, PRS. Yeah, I get what you mean. Look, before we get into the comparisons, I think it's really cool. I do, and it is much more meant for live performance and DJing and things like that. Yeah. That's very clear in their marketing, but just in how it's built and things like that. It just looks very similar to the SP, and it's drawing a lot of comparisons online. And so, being that we have two SP users, I wanted to bring this to the table, both to show because it does look pretty cool and it can do some things that the SP can't. Please, Roland, update that firmware with live looping. Just want that. But I do want to talk some comparisons. So, couple things. Like I said, it's meant more for performance, not production. There's no chromatic mode as of yet, no sequencer, no synths, and only one master effects instead of the 4 bus effects on an SP. So with the SP, you've got 2 effects buses that are right in front of you. You can switch diving to get to those, but if you know your way around the SP, you can get to them kind of quick or mute them and things like that. This one's only got the 1, but you can set things to not go to that effect. So it's not having 2 effects, but you don't have to, not every pad has to be hit by the effects that you're doing. There are more effects in the SP, but again, it's only one at a time. The touchscreen and the OLED, well, just the OLED touchscreen in general does offer a lot more to do on it compared to I think it's an OLED as well, but I might be wrong, but the tiny screen on the 404 Mark II, and you can only maneuver that by using the knobs. This is a touchscreen. You can do a lot more with that, and there are knobs and things like that as well. They both have great sample time per pad, which is something that was getting Curtis very intrigued. So the Kaoss Replay is 30 minutes per pad. I'm not sure if the SP even has a set limit, but it's definitely at least like 30 minutes. So they're both great in that regard. If you need long samples, or if you're playing like recording onto a pad or doing a full set that's just on one pad and triggering things, both work for that. Again, while limited, the Kaoss Replay has live looping, whereas the SP does not. So there is that. But it is double the cost and missing features like chromatic mode, a sequencer, which is a pretty big one that it's missing. And then, like I said, it's not out yet. It's available on January 24th. So with all that, is there anything I missed? Eon Lake being an SP404 owner as well, or is there something you want me to mention? Or you need to mention?
So. Okay. I don't think so. I remember seeing this was coming out and thinking, ooh, I was very excited. But I found it a bit deflating finding out what it is and what its specifications are. And don't get me wrong, it's great in many, many, many ways. But I don't know. It's not everything my imagination thought it could be. It feels a little limited in certain aspects. And strangely for Korg, who've done a lot for reasonably priced equipment, it feels quite pricey. I mean,
I wonder if that's the touch screen.
Yeah, maybe they're planning on some firmware updates that will add additional features and so on that might justify it more. But
that's actually a good point, because I do want to add that chromatic mode and a lot of other features that were added to the SP, like TR record mode or TR rec mode. Those were added with firmware. Yeah, so when I'm saying, oh, the Korg Kaoss Replay doesn't have chromatic mode, I mean, as of now, it doesn't. I don't know what they've said regarding firmware updates and things like that, but you're still dealing with a $500, $450 discrepancy, and all those things are on the SP. I think it has its merit, and I think if you're doing comes the cat, if you're doing like a live DJ performances and things like that, I can see it making sense with the touchpad, like you were saying, but even having like a Kaoss and an SP. How much is just a Kaoss pad run? Do you know, Eon Lake, offhand?
No, I got mine second hand. A couple of
at the moment,
it's
250 at the moment.
So you could get 250 and then 500 or 550 for the SP.
Still cheaper. Yeah, still cheaper.
Interesting.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's a thing that they roll it out. It's coming out in January, so they get it out and build the hype, and then they can begin to bring stuff in later on. We don't know what they're planning with the firmware. It does come across as somewhat lackluster for what it is. I mean, I'm not an authority here, but I'm looking at it. It looks awesome. I really like how boxy it is, and it's not very. It's very boxy. It's very edgy, quite literally. Not edgy as in I'm going to do you. It's edgy. Literally, it's got lots of edges, and I like that. But
no, it's a cool looking box for sure.
Yeah.
If it had, I don't know, if it had the same capabilities of, say, a Kaoss pad within it that it could all do, and then do everything else on SP404, I'd snap it up in an instant. But I can't do that right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do want to quickly just play a little bit from their demo video. Are you guys, just tell me if you're hearing this.
Yep.
Edit, of course. Yeah, just wanted to quickly show it, do it justice. It is really cool. It does look really cool, and a lot of the features are awesome. And I mean, having the ability to live loop, that's huge.
Can you, if you having the ability to live loop without a metronome, is that not a bit like buying a bed without a mattress? You know what I'm getting at?
No, I mean, I get you. I think what when it comes to its purpose as live performance, the only thing that comes to my mind is if you're already playing something, like something's already playing, or let's say you're just playing back like a song by triggering different samples. Like, oh, I triggered the drums. Now I'm building it up by hitting the synth pad that I've got sampled and this and that. You could then live loop things on top of it, take it out, bring it back in. Like, it could be cool because that would the song you're already playing would be your metronome, right? So you could kind of do something in that vein.
So it's so it's almost as if so you've always talked about using your SP404 as like an effects box and using it as like an interface in that regard. So this would be, by that rationale, it would be the effects box where all your hardware and all your gear, all your little boxes that we put on our table and talk about every week is all routed into there, and it's like an effects bus essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what you're doing. It would be like end of your chain, just like the SP404. Let me see if I can show it. Yeah, the SP404 down here is at the end of the chain. Everything goes, all of that goes into the mixer. Mixer goes into the Diggy goes into the SP, and then I can affect it all. I can resample it all, and then I can like sequence, do whatever, either on the SP or on the Digitact, which is MIDI sequencing the SP. But I think what I'm getting at when it comes to the live looping, in terms of how I'm envisioning that it could work, is when it comes to how I've set it up, I can have samples on the SP playing, right? Then I could, on top of that, perform things on the circuit live, and it sequences it live. So in that way, it would kind of do both of those aspects. But the live looping's limited in I don't know. I think it has some quantizing and things like that, but it would all be in one box, but there's no synths built in. So you'd have to either have like, and no chromatic mode. So you have to either have all the notes you want to play on separate pads or be sending something into it, something like that.
I get it. We'd like to know what you guys in the chat are feeling about this, whether or not you are feeling it or not. Mixed reviews from our end, I feel. Not to speak for these two.
It looks like it's supposed to live between a couple of decks along with a mixer, doesn't it?
I think that is its purpose, and that's, like I said, the marketing seems to really be around that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it looks a lot like the SP404. Of course, it's going to draw comparisons to it, and so I think it's important that we discuss, like as we did, the either similarities or the glaring differences that exist between them. But yeah, I mean, I think it has its point. I think it has its purpose for live performance. But yeah, in terms of production and stuff, there might be firmwares, and hopefully there will be, that bring stuff up. I'm laughing because J-Bell says I prefer the Hydra synth. Yeah, that's a very different piece of hardware. that is like an apple and an orange. Even worse, that's like an apple and a like steak or something. Like just complete.
I kind of get where he's coming from, though.
Yeah, I get where he's coming from. I hope J-Bell doesn't mind me saying it. J-Bell's just bought himself the Micro Freak.
Ooh, nice! Congrats on that.
And it's a bitching piece of gear. And I was me and him sat, and we were and I about whether to get the Hydra synth to add to the studio or not. Yeah, I think that's what we're coming from. The answer is yes. Once the money is there, so we'll have to see. But yeah,
Bill's got a good question though. He says, Sunwarper, as an SP user, would you swap over? I hope I made it clear, but no. In the comparison, I was hoping I made it clear, but we're live, so maybe I did. But to pull an Eon Lake and be succinct, no. I do think it's really cool, but I do a lot where I need chromatic, where I need sequencing. I mean, I would love the live looping aspect. I would like a more refined form of live looping as well. So that's enticing, but it's $1,000. I just bought a Digitact for $800, so I can't spend more money. And then it doesn't really have a place in my setup, and that's why I would say no. But I do see some people gravitating to it. It is really cool. And if you're not needing sequencing or something, or just need a big effects box that you could trigger one shots on as well, or do things like that, it looks pretty enticing there.
Yeah, and having that Kaoss pad level of control over your samples or effects on them is pretty cool, and it's kind of tempting. But
also the touch aspect of it, that you can do a lot. You can motion record. It seems like the motion recording is a little easier than, say, on the pattern sequencing of the SP, because there's a lot of buttons you have to hit before you get there. And then, on the SP, you've only got those 3 knobs controlling the effects, whereas on this, it's a XY touchscreen. So that's pretty cool right there. I know that intrigues Curtis. Yeah, he'll be like, my chimp brain is intrigued by.
it is ever more like the more touch moving. And I was talking to you about the other day about having an AI that could do voice commands and could attach LFOs to things without you even doing it. And I mean, that is something that would be, that's why I would love a Kaoss pad. I'd love to have all this going through a Kaoss pad, so you could just make weird and wacky sounds coming out of the Ultranova on its way. I don't know enough about it to at this stage to spend the money.
There's a lo-fi artist on YouTube. I think they go by the name Cruel Buddhist, but they make some really good tunes. I sent it to you, Curtis, before because they use the Ultranova like you. But
he's got the Ultranova. He's got 2 SP404s.
Yeah, the OG and the SX SP404, not the Mark II. But they also have a Kaoss pad in their live rig. So their live rig is like 2 SPs, the Ultranova, I think 1 other synth, and then the Kaoss pad. So talk about like having the best of both worlds with all the SP effects and the XY stuff on the Kaoss. That's pretty cool.
That's what you just need to do. Just need to go out, live in Asia, and spend all your money on synthesizers. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to do.
Living the dream.
Living the dream, the absolute dream. And talking about is there anything more on that? I was going to do a segue, but I don't want to do it prematurely.
Oh, you ruined it, man. We almost had a nice segue, and you second guessed yourself.
I got anxious. It's got all in my head all of a sudden. I was just like,
imposter syndrome got the best of you. You got to listen back to our episodes on imposter syndrome.
So yeah, well, I'll tell you what. In the name of imposter syndrome, nothing gets my imposter syndrome riled up more in the best of ways than the support that we get from our patrons. The more support we get every day, it gives me the drive and the ability to do better and better and better. And if you like what we are doing here, consider becoming a patron in your own right.
I thought you were going for it, and I pressed it, and then it removed it. Sorry, that was such a nice segue. I'm so sorry I ruined that.
It's okay. We're just the segue's a bit off. More to come. It's fine. In short, this show is brought to us by our patrons, and we love you. Thank you ever so much for your support. We're the growing community we have on Discord where we're sharing ideas, bitching about Spotify's royalty changes. It's really beautiful, and I love it, and it keeps me going in really dark times. So thank you for your support. If you listening back on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, if you're listening to this on YouTube or whatever, and you like what we do and you want to see us grow, we have big plans coming in 2024. Me and Eon Lake have our EOS next week where we're going to sit down and hash out 2024, and we got big plans. If you want to be a part of those plans, consider becoming a patron. It starts at $2. And you get access to a Starstream Hangout, which we do once a month properly. And we also do every Monday in the Discord channel. We have exclusive channels in our Discord, with, like I say, with the growing community. And there are more behind the scenes and extra content that you get being an Audionaut Plus or an Audionaut producer or anything like that.
You also get to come on the show.
Yeah, you also get to come on the show. Patrons, the link is in the Discord and in the Twitter group now if you wanted to come in for the second half of the show. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, you can poke and prod Eon Lake to get a rant out of him. That's the biggest feature of joining as a member.
Exactly.
He's pretty easy to rile up. Just be like, Spotify is taking royalties, or just even say Spotify, and boom, he's off.
You had me at Spotify.
One of the biggest developments, because we are a growing community, and this is a naturally evolving, uncodified constitution, much like the UK. And we are one of the greatest things that we've been doing recently is we discuss these topics in the Patreon, Discord, and Twitter ahead of time, and everyone's throwing their hat into the ring, giving their ideas, and it's a much more of a communal event. We bring the show to you every Wednesday, but this is kind of the ideas are generated through the discourse that we have with our patrons. So if you want to get involved, come and say hi over there. It's a beautiful space.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we talk all kinds of gear, and like Curtis can make PRS jokes and we'll understand it. Whereas, you mentioned that to anyone in the real world, it might be little eyes glazed. But here we can talk about these things, or we can talk about struggles with pieces of gear that we have, and usually Eon Lake has it, so he can help us with how to navigate learning it. Sorry, Eon Lake, I feel like I'm picking on you, but it's out of love, my friend.
No, it's cool.
I do want to quickly say hello to one of our patrons who just dropped in. Shady Ridge says, "Hey everyone, hello Shady, welcome.
Shady.
Always happy to have you." What have we got next?
I just want to say before we go into what's next, because next is good, but Shady Ridge putting out what looks like
Next is
another dope record coming out. Like they're just Shady again, going from strength to strength to strength, and just continuing bringing out some beautiful electronic music. Shady Ridge Records, just beautiful, love it. Sorry, yes, I'm rabbiting now. I'm all excited. What
Did
is
you say
next?
rabbiting?
Rabbiting on.
Interesting. All right.
Rabbiting, another Britishism for you.
Yeah,
Sir.
that's the new one to me.
Man sounds like he's never listened to Chaz and Dave. I mean, come on.
Again, another new one. He's just trying to get back at me because I've been just subtly digging him.
There we go. There we go.
We'll hook you up somewhere. Don't worry.
Okay, we'll just start sending you Chaz and Dave shit. It'd be great.
Part of our cultural exchange program.
Next, I've completely lost where we are.
Well, here we go. Here we go. Speaking of UK, these app makers, 2 of their apps have been on the the iOS app UK number 1 and 2 on the charts of the iOS apps, and that is our friends at AudioKit Pro. We've covered multiple synths of theirs, King of FM, King of Bass, a couple other ones too. Yeah, they're all just amazing, and they keep putting out more and more, and every one is just awesome. So yeah, we've got now King of Digital. Let's check it out.
King of Digital. Yeah. I mean, this is the King of Digital synth. If I bring this here, I've just kept this in a place right now. Where are we? Let's bring this up so you can see here. Let's get rid of these lovely advertisements. But yeah, another beautiful iOS synth. And I'll play you some sounds in a little bit. This is a hybrid synth, hybrid digital synth. With 900 plus presets, absolutely insane. 64 voice hybrid digital PCM and VA synth, 3 gigabytes of original samples, compression, dual layers, vintage step sequencer, 3 LFOs, and effects such as reverb, phaser, digital delay, distortion, flanger, chorus, bit crush, and apparently more.
Really quick though, on the LFOs, it's got tons of different ways you can route the LFOs. And when we did the King of FM, it might have been King of Bass. I'll put links to both of our coverage of both of those in there. We went through live all of the different routings you can do. It gets crazy.
Yeah, completely and utterly. Anyone want to guess the price for this? For 900 presets, 3FO, 64 voice?
I already know what it is though, so that would be a bit disingenuous, wouldn't it?
All right. It would be.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll throw it up. Chat, if you want to guess the introduction price, I'll give what it's going to be later. How's that?
Well, let's play the sounds and give people an opportunity to hit the delay. This is it. I hope you guys can hear. I won't hear it because of my computer, but I hope you guys can hear
But we got so far with you hearing the intro.
I know.
But 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right?
Exactly, such is life. So yeah, let's just play some of these sounds so you kind of hear where we're going with. You can see the overlay and stuff like that. You hear it?
Yep.
Audible does cool stuff.
That's awesome.
I'll do one more.
Sounds like post metal or post rock there.
For sure.
Perfect. All right. So we've actually got a guess. Frequency Control Center, our label mate, and he's got some awesome tunes coming out next year. Just you wait. We've got some stuff. Speaking of plans for Audionautic and all that, that's one of them. He says $15. No, sir. Under.
Wing and a miss.
Yeah, under. But good guess. Good guess. That's close to what the final price will be, but still under for that too. Shall I just say it? Is that cool? Or do we want to try to get some more? We got latency, so I don't know. Might take a while. So I'm just going to say it. You know what? $4. $4 for the introduction price and $10.99 later. And I don't know if they've got a date for when the intro price ends. It might be on the App Store, but yeah, I mean, they usually have really affordable, and they have some that are free as well. I want to say King of FM is free.
I think it
King of
is.
FM is insane. So
Yeah.
yeah, the King of Digital, King of Bass, they've got a lot. There's the two retro synths, total the ones based off of like the Saga synth based off the Sega Genesis. Then they have the Nintendo one as well, and I'm blanking on the name for that one. But yeah, they have tons of awesome stuff all on iPad, iPhone, and I think some of them work as plugins like in Logic and things like that. I'm pretty sure I got King of FM working on there. Frequency Control Center says, "What?"
He's incredulous.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's not it. That's awesome. I'm just saying we just wanted to give a PSA because we always love their synths and apps. They're a lot of fun, and we've covered a lot of them. We just, due to time constraints and stuff, we haven't had a chance to check this one out. But looks like it's worth checking out for sure.
Looks fun.
I feel like for all these things, like even, I mean, for $4, sorry. This is me harking back to the green room tunes that we were doing. The 900 plus presets, even that on its own is just a box of inspiration. Like, we're always talking about mixing up workflow and trying something new and getting some things through. This is just be a small investment to make for a relatively small company, and instantly out of the box, you've just got tons and tons and tons of different sounds. And what's not to like? That's what whenever we do something with AudioKit Pro, I always come back to what is there not to appreciate about what they're doing here.
And why
one
don't
of
you
the
have an iPhone or iPad, right?
and why don't I have an iPhone or iPad? Exactly. If I did, I'd have all of these things.
I'm gonna check
The
if it's
fact
on
what-
Android actually, real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, do that for me. One thing which is really interesting as well, is the app itself is under half a gig. It's under 500 megabytes, which for a synthesizer, fully fledged synthesizer, that's pretty damn good. Like games these days and applications are getting more and more and more and more, and obviously space gets more and more within it, but it's always going to be a narrowing effect. And I think it's really nice that a company are thinking about these things. I mean, as someone who always works on a laptop, I'm always thinking about CPU usage. I'm always thinking about limited memory, that kind of thing. And this is lovely to see them do that. And that's why, for me at least, they get another tip of the hat. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to be able to do some sound creation and stuff outside of the studio as well, especially if you're out and about and you've got to wait somewhere, to be able to use that, maybe a sampler, and create some textures and stuff like that, or even just sort of program search and mark some favorites and stuff for when you're actually going to be doing a session, so you don't do stuff like that in the studio when you're trying to write and be creative. I find that pretty helpful as well, because sometimes I'm looking for something extra for a track and nothing that I've got already in here is kind of really going to work in the mix. And sometimes, a few times now, I've found that a mobile app has a kind of different sort of tonality that works in a way that everything else doesn't.
You can also tweak those patches like crazy, even just with all the LFO routings you can do. So just because you start with a patch or a preset doesn't mean it's going to end sounding like that. I think we did that for the King of Bass demo. We took one of the patches they had and just completely tweaked it, and it was very different sounding. And I was looking on their website just to get back. I don't see on their website anything saying on Android. Like every app I went to showed get on the App Store, like the iOS App Store. So it might be. I'm not sure. I don't have any Android things, so you'd have to search it. But they're definitely on iOS. I can confirm that.
I think if it was on Android, I'd know about it. And I mean,
you'd be playing it instead of being on the show.
I'd be playing it instead of bitching about it. Yeah. Most of these things do come out on iOS first because it's a more stable operating system, as far as I'm aware. My tiny chimp brain doesn't really understand computers, but I hear that iOS is just more stable because it's Apple is made for Apple, whereas Android is made for whereas Android is made for everything. Yeah, so that's what I hear. Like the Flip sampler is now on Android, but it came out on iOS first, and it was on there for about a year before it came to Android. So that kind of thing, So I get it. I'm not butthurt about it. I'm just waiting to someone to give me an iPad. That's what I'm waiting for.
There you go. There you go.
Exactly.
Does anyone else have anything they want to say about this? Because before we go to the next topic, I do want to bring something up.
No,
Like
I'm all
anything you want
good.
to add?
No, go ahead, man.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention, because Frequency Control Center was in the chat, is probably still as well. He will be on in next week, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
He will be on
yeah.
next week to break down, because he's a professional web designer. So he's going to break down what you need to know about designing your own website, because in these crazy times, with, as we've talked about for 2 or 3 weeks, Spotify wanting to take royalties under 1,000 streams per track, or not giving you your royalties. That's probably a better way to put it, with all the crazy things happening at Bandcamp, given Epic selling its SongTrader acquisition and all that. It's a bit of a turbulent time. So we've been saying, and we've always said, but we're really pushing, that everybody should look into making their own website, because you can have a centralized place where you're at, that's yours, and you control that. No one can change the royalty splits you're getting on a whim or anything like that. And yes, you should still be on all those stuff, but it's great to have a home base that's your own. And so we're going to walk through why you should have a website, and he'll show us how to do some of the stuff, what to consider, design aspects, things like that. So that will be, I believe it's next week. FCC saying it might be the week after, but I think we're scheduled for next week. I've got no idea what the concept of time is right now, given that I have a newborn and I've been waking up at like 3 a.m. every day to take care of him. So Curtis can take the reins in terms of scheduling. You can explain that one, Curtis, but it is coming very soon. And I wanted to mention that, because this is a crazy time. And I think it's important that we should all start looking into ways to have just a fallback, but also just a central place that's yours, that no one can pull the rug out from. Curtis, date for that, my friend.
It is definitely. I've got it here. ADSN 90 with FCC 22. Lucky number 22.
Right before Thanksgiving, I believe, right?
Right before Thanksgiving. Apparently so. You guys have got
I think so. I don't know. Again, I have no idea. That might be the week after. I have no idea.
do we have,
what are days, man? What are days?
Should we do a themed episode? I don't know if you could do that.
Let me just look, because man, I'm okay. So that's, yeah, the 23rd is Thanksgiving, according to Google.
Look at us organize our future ADSN episodes on air. Great content. So yeah, we got.
Well, it was more that I started by talking about this was coming, and then FCC got me thrown off he made me question myself. Curtis had a moment of questioning himself earlier. Now I'm questioning myself, and I was like, wait, dates? What? See, this is my weak spot. Like I said, I'm so sleepy. I have no idea what day it even is right now. So we're good.
There's a lot of selling out on the show this week.
Yeah, we're sorted, but we're sorted now. We're good. Everybody, if you enjoy hearing our calendaring, let us know. But we'll get back to the topic at hand. So Curtis, you took the reins on this one. We've got 2 massive updates for DAWs. So and we have users from both. And I know Curtis is trying to take a subtle dig at Logic by putting it so teeny tiny right there in the text right there. So teeny. But they're both awesome. I was watching a video about the Ableton update. That's not out yet, though. That's coming out soon. But the Logic update is out and does quite a lot. So I will let Curtis talk about this, and he can choose which one he's going to start with. And I know his bias is going to show with where he's going to go. So,
of course, my bias he's going to show. Let me just bring it all up so we can see. I'm going to share my screen so people can kind of see what we're getting on with. There are lots of deep dives coming in from people who already have access to it, from certified trainers, etc. We don't have access to that right now. But when we do have access to it, we'll really go through it in more detail. But yes, this is a major update from Ableton Live. If I play that video with nothing, they can do that thing. They can do that, and I'll leave that running while I talk.
It's a little choppy, though.
Is it a little choppy? That's fine.
Quite
no,
choppy,
that's them. No, that's them doing their thing. She is like jumping.
Oh, okay, because it's like very bit crushed or something. Okay,
I see it. So basically, yeah, big, massive update from Ableton. So they've got new MIDI transformations generators, creating diverse variations in MIDI clips. You can now rearrange by pitch, velocity, duration. There's basically new editing capabilities. We're now no longer within the 12-tone equal temperament. We can do micro tuning.
I love this.
Really, really exciting. Yeah. You can play around and get really, really trippy with your sounds. For anyone listening, I like making trippy music, and this is going to help make more trippy music.
Shocking.
So yeah. Overall, it looks it looks a bit more different. The mixer itself, like the faders and the mixing itself, is a lot more detailed, so you can see a lot more variation for your amplification, for example, closer to peaking, that kind of thing. One of the wonderful things that I have seen as well is that you can now put the mixer in arrangement view. Whereas beforehand you'd have to have it for a second screen, or you could only have either session view or arrangement view. And now you can, if you wanted to, you can put them both on the same screen. As well as that, you can have a look at your effects chain and your MIDI, for example, on the same page. It has always been the case up until now where you can only have one, either looking at your effects chain or you're looking at your MIDI. But now you can look at both and you can stack them both on top of each other, which is really, really cool. Really, really nice to see. They've got new instruments coming in. Something called Meld by Timbrel, MPE capability, new coloring saturation, a granulator 3, for example. A lot more capabilities coming in stock. And finally, you're looking at accessibility options, which is a really nice one. I don't know how much Logic has that, but the idea is that you, if you have an impaired accessibility, maybe you can only use a keyboard, you can just use that, which is a really nice thing to see.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. They call it a major update. I am perhaps too new to Ableton to suggest what a major update might entail. I remember, not Ian Lake, I remember Hydra Fighter talking a few weeks back saying that he does every other update because the major updates come in later on, right? So like 11 was a massive update, for example, but it was like a small step from 10 to 11, but it was big, that in its own right was a bigger step from 9, etc. Maybe Ian, like, you can tell us a bit more, seeing as you were probably around when Ableton 1 was there.
Oh, that's right. Pick on me.
What is Gee. No, if
Because
you don't
you're a
mind,
man,
Ian Lake- no, Ian Lake hasn't been using Ableton all that long, right? Because you were
Exactly.
using Logic, and then
I mean,
and then,
you know that.
yeah.
Yeah, I was a Logic user before that, and I was a Cubase user before that. Yeah, I think it varies as well. I think with major updates to live, I'm kind of I'm going to see. You know, I'm inclined to wait a bit as well because it's money to upgrade, right? There are always some good features. I think the question is just whether the features are ones that you're going to use. Like for last time round, it was things like VC integration, the ability, if you have interfaces for it, to actually record control voltage stuff from modular into Ableton, edit it in Ableton, and play it back to your modular stuff. That level of integration is mental. But I mean, if you've got no modular stuff, who cares? So, you know, it's very much about, you know, what it gives you in your setup and your situation. So I'm not so sure. I don't know. I'm gonna have a good look through it. It does look a bit different, and I think some of those changes are good changes. But I might pick them up on the next upgrade. You know, a bit like Hydra Fighter. If
Do they have a consistent, like every year something new comes out, or every 2 years, or is it kind of more like it just rolls out when it's coming?
I think they work to their own schedule a bit, but it's quite regular.
And this will cost, right, to update, or is it free?
Yeah, no,
It costs. Okay.
paid update.
Yeah.
You get free updates within a major version,
Right.
but
Okay.
a major revision's a paid for update.
Gotcha. A couple
Looks
bits of
interesting,
comments.
though. I like some of the MIDI stuff they're thrown in. Hey, Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the I was watching the Sonic State thing. Some of the MIDI stuff they're adding in was really cool. Like all the ways you can treat and affect MIDI, like to change it. Really awesome. Couple bits of comments. Mike says it's going to make my life as a lazy producer much easier. He also says Ableton Live user since Live 4 here. I'm not going to read the second part. Yeah, like had enough.
Younger than me.
Yeah, like had enough. Stop.
We've been
I'm just
ripping on
kidding.
Ian Lake today.
But I'm curious, Mike. It sounds like you are going to get this update. Are you working on Ableton 11 currently, or are you on a previous one? I'm curious.
It'd be interesting to see. I think again, I've got Hydrofighter. Hydrofighter is always at the forefront of my mind for most things, not just in terms of music production.
Lives rent
But
free in there, huh?
he just lives rent free in my brain. But the capabilities with MIDI as I grow my kind of hybrid setup that I've got here, the capabilities and the MIDI capabilities within Ableton, it seems like a shift for that world. It seems like a shift for live production through using MIDI controllers and generating MIDI clips and stuff like that. And that's cool. I like that. I appreciate that. I think that's really nice. And that's me being biased because I use a lot of MIDI in what I do. It seems like a nice one. I echo what Ian Lake is saying. I'm being facetious, but I echo what Ian Lake is saying. Doesn't seem like a massive change. Doesn't everything else? The UI updates are really nice and it looks really good. But it is again, the one thing about Ableton is it's pay to upgrade, right? Again, FL Studio user here, bought FL Studio and you get lifetime free updates. You know, they keep updating and you can just download the new one. And I love that about FL Studio. And
Logic
it's
is
one of the
like
reasons
that too, or very similar.
Yeah.
I think like the major updates you might have to buy like to 11, but it's been Logic X or Logic 10 for like I don't even know for years, for years and years and years. And you get as we're going to talk about, you get massive upgrades within that same. Like there's been tons of changes to Logic in it, so I know what you mean for sure. But I mean, it looks like there's a lot that they've added, and maybe to some it doesn't seem like it's that, like to you guys it doesn't sound like it's that big of an update, but from what I was reading, there's a lot that they're adding that just seems like really good quality of life stuff, but also just changes like the micro tuning. Awesome. That's cool. Really cool. So yeah, maybe like you were saying with the modular type stuff, it might not apply to everyone. So someone who doesn't do certain things may see it and go, this doesn't seem like that big of an upgrade. But I think when you look at it from everything it's doing, this is from a non-Ableton user. I think it's adding quite a bit, which is really cool. We've got some comments from Mike. He's using Live 11 and already purchased the upgrade. Nice. He says, I do everything in Ableton. And I echo what he's saying, that the UI updates will make it easier, quicker to finish tracks. It's cool.
Yeah. Save your tab key as well for flipping between.
Exactly. Save your tab key.
Yeah. I like that. I also really like that they've added a lot of things that, because what I didn't like with Ableton was some of the UI and workflow and stuff. It just didn't click for me. So I like that they have some of these kind of bridging the gap between the different parts and things like that. It's cool.
Come on in, bro. You know you want to.
If you want to give me a code for a cheaper version, then by all means.
You're done.
Or if you know, Christmas and my birthday is coming up, are coming up. So like, hey, maybe don't buy something for a day. Don't buy a piece of gear for one day. I'm just kidding, but
it's I think it's important to note that it's currently a 20% off up until its release in January. Cool. So whether or not you are on the upgrade path, if you already have 11 or 10, say, you get 20% off your purchase. But even if you're just buying it outright, you will get 20% off. And there is that. You can go to their website, you can get it from there as well. Just as a little caveat to Sunwhooper, I now currently have a blue copy of Ableton. So if you wanted to check my live stream after this, you'll be able to see how Ableton.
Well, I was going to check it out for the hand pans anyways. I mean, I have to do some filming, but in between filming, I'm going to hop in and be like, hand pan it up, bro. And if you're not using enough hand pans, I'm going to be irate in the comments.
You're going to beat me with a hand pan. Is that what you're going to do?
I'll come over, cross the Atlantic, go across the US, cross the Atlantic, and give you another hand pan. I'm not a violent person. I'll just give you an extra hand pan and be like, here, and then I'll disappear. I'll be back in California.
Can you imagine that? I haven't seen you basically every day for the last 3 and a bit years. Never actually met you. You turn up, hand me a hand pan, say nothing, and leave.
Just bounce. That would be fitting, I feel like.
Yeah, it would be.
A bit of added context too. Mike says Live 11 was released in February 2021. So
been 2 years. Wow.
Really? Okay.
Time, man. What is it?
Well, it's nothing. That's what it is. It's nothing.
It's deep.
Let's move over because we are.
We're dread it, run from it. Family. Logic still updates, Curtis.
Yeah.
and you have to do it because I didn't have time.
There are other DAWs out there. One of them is Logic, and Logic has a nice set of upgrades as well. Something I'm worth employing. I've got Logic on my work computer, and so this is something I will be looking into. If you share my screen, I'll bring it
Of
up so you can see it.
course.
There we go. So we have the beautiful UI there.
Those colors and the dark
Yeah.
gray.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful, yeah. One of the biggest things, and we're actually going to be touching on this in 3 weeks, I believe. We're planning a bit ahead because we've got a few things scheduled. We will be testing this out, and we'll be doing
In 2 weeks we'll be doing a walkthrough of the actual update. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what it's adding, and then I will do a walkthrough live of what it's added in 2 weeks, because next week we've got the awesome thing with FCC, and then in 3 weeks we're going to do a little fun AI mastering challenge. It's going to be interesting, but carry on, Curtis.
So with that frame in mind, one of the biggest things that they've introduced is a mastering assistant. It's basically a plugin and allows you to create quick, apparently professional polished and ready to go mixes, basically with AI. So think Ozone, think Lander, but this is their own version of that. That's quite nice to have inside your DAW. It's usually plugins that you have to buy for $300 or something like that. This is part of it. Sample Alchemy as well. It's an instrument plugin basically used for sampling playable instruments, that kind of thing, which will give you a lot more versatility when it comes to using samples in your DAW. It's almost as if everyone in the trend, generally speaking, is going towards sampling these days, and it's lovely. It's really
They've
nice.
added stuff that was only in the iPad Logic Pro. Yeah, and so they're making it a parody, I guess, so to say.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, which is a nice little thing to do. It basically, they say it enables the creation of diverse sounds, sound beds, pads, effects, rhythms, etc., etc. As well as that, we've got the Beat Breaker. They say integration. I'm assuming, is that something that was on iPad and is
Hold on, are
over
you
to the
scrolling? Because it's still stuck on the top screen of just the
No,
okay. Just making
I'm
sure.
reading notes.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
No
no,
worries. All right, I'll
I'm
cut
reading
back
notes
to
from the
us then,
docket.
so we can see Eon Lake better and Curtis.
Yay! Wait, no, if you want to see Eon,
Yeah, I
better,
think.
Oh, thanks.
Geez, you're going hard on him. Let's be fair.
I want to see him. I want to see. I'm saying I want to
Let's
see
be
Eon Lake.
fair. No, I think some of these things, because I don't have Logic Pro for iPad, because one of my issues with Logic was the fact that to do a monthly subscription with no sort of discount or long-term user thing for Logic Pro on iPad. You can't just buy it outright and you don't get some sort of like discount thing by owning Logic Pro. That's one of my weird gripes. Unless it's changed, but when it launched, that was, to my knowledge, the only thing. Eon Lake looks curious, so he's going to check. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time I saw, that's what it was saying, and we talked about it on the podcast. It's a subscription thing only.
Really? That's
Yeah, but now that the things that were exclusive to Logic on iPad are now being brought to Logic, or are now brought to, because this update is live. It's good to go. You can get it. So yeah, at least they're on desktop Logic now. But if you still can't get the the mobile aspect, but Logic does have a Logic remote that you can use on your phone or iPad to control your desktop Logic. It's a lot of fun. I use it a lot. It's cool. It's like having a little touch screen. You can open effects, you can open synths, you can change faders and all that stuff. It's convenient. But yeah, so I think they're just working to bring parity between. Looks like Eon Lake is very disappointed. Am I right? Am I correct about the subscription only? Yeah.
Monthly subscription of £4.99 or 49 for an annual subscription.
That was it. The 50 was annual. If I said monthly, sorry, I meant annual 50. But there's no sort of, to my knowledge, there's no sort of like, oh, you've been a Logic user for 10 years. You can get a monthly thing or a yearly thing for $25 or, this and that. Now, granted, Logic costs $200 and you get all of these updates included. Like I bought Logic, I think 8 years ago, and I've never had to spend another dollar, and I've gotten Alchemy and all these different updates added. So there's that, just to be fair to it. But what else? Is there anything else that it's added, Curtis? We went off on a tangent there because Eon Lake was sad.
Yeah, never want to
He's
see
so
on
pouty right now. He's like,
well, I didn't know that Logic Pro for the iPad existed, and I thought, since I've been having so many problems with Cubasis, I thought, maybe this is the solution. So, I've had my hopes raised and dashed all in the
was that
space of
all
2
in live?
minutes on the stream.
I'm gonna go back and rewatch this because I want to see him get all excited and then just cry.
Another monthly bill. Thank you, Apple. That's what I want. Yeah.
And there's not even a thing to buy it outright. Like you can buy a year, but you can buy Logic for $200, have it forever, right? But for the Logic iPad, it's subscription only. That bothered me. But yeah.
This is the way it's going. We have talked about this. I mean, like another one is Waves. I don't know if you guys talk about a tangent. I don't know if you guys saw the adverts for Waves plugins on x.com/Twitter and Instagram. They say, they got a Black Friday plugin coming out, and I'm just like, I don't care. I just don't. It's Waves. I just don't care because it's going to be a subscription model.
Exactly.
I'm not.
You
bothered.
can buy Waves plugins because of that controversy, though. You can buy them singular and outright.
Okay.
Like I had to get L1 limiter for my master chain, and I was able to buy it just fine. But of course, when you need to update, if you're not paying for their update subscription, you would have to buy. Like if it stops working on the current OS, then you need to get the newest version. So you'd have to either have that update thing or buy it outright again. So there is that. Poor Lake's just not having a good day today. I'm sorry.
I'm always relieved when I see an update and it's from Waves, and I think, oh, thank God, I don't need to know about
that. Just less news that I need to worry about. It's great. Yeah.
Just to notice, I don't have to try and squeeze that into my head with all the other information. I can just throw that straight away.
Just straight into the bin. That's what we need. Bring it back to the topic at hand. They have a few new tools in the Logic 10.8 update. The introduction of slip and rotate tools in the menu for track, area, and time-based editors. It allows you to move content in and out of the software instrument regions without altering region boundaries, similar to Warp, I believe, in Ableton. That's what I'm trying to put that down to. And also 32-bit recording and a brand new load of sound packs. So 32-bit depth float, ability to render out in that, audio compatibility with audio interfaces, and you can remove digital clipping by adjusting gain and increasing gain without raising the noise floor, for example. And yeah, that is very nice. And 2 new sound packs: hybrid textures with 70 patches, 80 loops, and vocal melodics. 475 lyrical phrases, hooks and harmonies, effects, one-shots, all downloadable via the sound library manager.
Is one thing I wanted to add is that the sound library on Apple is crazy. They have like all the Roland drum sounds, all these different things in there, and they're all just part of that $200 you buy. Boom, you get all that. You can download them, uninstall them, do that. They have a bunch of transitional effects and things like that. It's pretty awesome. A couple of comments, and it looks like one of them was answered, but I'll read it anyways, and the answer to it. But Mike says, hey, you've been an Ableton user for 20 years. Buy push hardware. Here, have the same 20% as everyone else. Yeah, I mean, I guess all the companies do this sort of stuff. Yeah, it'd be nice to see some, like, I hate to use the term, but like loyalty incentive versus, just like, I don't know. But then Survey Channel asks, where'd it go? If you have 11 Suite, how much will it cost to upgrade for 12? I was going to ask you, gents, but Mike answered 143. So there you go.
There you go.
Which just looking.
Yeah, 143. Eon, like 143 quid to upgrade at this stage, yes or no?
No.
That's a lot of no's from Eon like today. I'm shocked.
You're asking me just before Christmas. We've just had 3 birthdays in my family. I'm not buying anything ever for quite a while now. No, next year. But
I'll buy that Kaoss pad off you. Oof.
Survey Channel just goes, oof.
It hurts so hard. He had to type it in, and that's fair. I mean, it's not It's not an insignificant amount of money. That's the thing about Ableton.
Exactly,
It's not
yeah.
an insignificant amount of money. It is oof. That is the best way of describing it. It's beautiful. I love Ableton. It is an extension of my creative existence, and it's beautiful to me.
It looks like
But
that's $177 US if Google's quick
yeah,
conversion was right. So yeah,
but it's,
just
yeah,
convert. You can do the
yeah.
check. That's your domain.
So for someone in Mike's position, he's very much in the box and tries to do everything in Ableton. That's like upgrading your whole studio. So
Yeah,
why not?
No, I mean I'm not. I think if it works for you and if it's what you need, I don't see a problem with it. And especially like we were saying, and Mike had said, Live 11 is almost 3 years old. So if you don't need it, you don't need it. But if you need the stuff, then you get $177 to upgrade to the thing. I mean, yeah. Then there's Logic, which you have $200. You get Logic 10 however long ago, and you've got all these updates, which adds tons of stuff for. Let me look.
That's when I left Logic though, because I had Logic 9 and I was about to buy Logic 10 or Logic X, and Ableton came along and I bought that instead.
So Logic X or Logic 10, it looks like it came out July 16th. You ready for this?
Yeah,
2013. So if you bought it for $200, I bought Logic in 2013. I've never bought Logic or any upgrade, and you get all those updates for, so what is that, 10 years now? It's not a knock on Ableton. I'm just commenting the differences between DAWs, and you have to use what works for you. It's just interesting.
Yeah, and like you're saying, some DAWs are free upgrades for life.
Yeah,
right?
And some DAWs are free.
Yeah.
What is it? Some of them are free, or they have lighter versions. And Reaper, I think, is what, $60,
Reaper's
and then you can
source.
customize it like crazy. So yeah,
it's
FCC says Ableton's great, apart from the crashes, though, eh, Curtis? With
I was talking to FCC earlier today about how I was making that track with him, and it just crashed. I lost everything, and now I've got to go back and redo everything. But that's me pushing it to its absolute limits.
Just rip the live stream if you have the song playing, and then just stem split it.
Well, I'm going to.
It'll sound terrible, but it can work.
I'm going to use the workflow. Luckily, I've got a recording of the workflow, so I'm just going to go back in and do it all.
Just replace everything with hand pans.
Exactly. Well, we'll see.
I find it quite good at recovering when it crashes on a Mac. It will just say you were working on this. Do you want to re?
Curtis has like the worst Windows. He has Windows, but it's like this version of Windows is just like the worst thing in the world. You can't get sound. The microphones don't send. It clips. It does this. It crashes nonstop. None of the drivers work. He updates the drivers. They still don't work.
It's a jelly edition.
It's been a chaos. I think Touchwood. This is MDF. Hang on, wood there. Touchwood. I fixed it. I think there has been some conflicts between the different drivers because I'm also running off multiple interfaces. But yeah, for now it's relatively stable. But what I do have is I have massive templates, and that's why it crashed the other week. I have massive templates with lots of racks and everything, and I think me being
maximalism. Got you.
Yeah, me being me, I've gone, how can I make this? Yeah, how can I make this?
The sun was here and you just went right there.
I found my limit. I think we're good. It's been okay for now. I just want to bring back, I'm looking at the chat. Can you put what Survey Channel said about...
we got a few, actually. First, Mike says... I'm sorry. Hold on, we've got a few. The last one I put up was the oof from Survey Channel. So Mike says upgrade cost Live 10 to Live 11 was $149. So it was a little more. It looks like couple bucks or something. Survey Channel then says I couldn't swing that every few years if they kept upgrading at that pace. That makes sense. Yeah, like I don't remember what you said. Sorry, but Mike agrees with you.
The whole studio.
That's true. Probably that's probably it. I'm glad you were on it. Then Survey Channel says, but I am more interested in adopting Ableton lately. I already read FCC's because that was too funny to not read in that one moment. Survey Channel also says the Survey Channel Treasury requires a written proposal for withdrawals. I had to do that for the Digitac. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. And Mike says, Clippy, looks like you're producing ambient dub music. Would you like me to crash Ableton for you? FCC is also with the treasury. Should we call it the family treasury or something? You know,
The
like
family
yeah,
treasury, yeah. The family vault.
yeah.
I wanted to this is coming back to what Survey Channel said. He said he couldn't swing it every few years if he kept upgrading that pace. I'm in exactly the same boat. I don't think I could do that. This is why I keep Hydrofier and that's why he lives rent free in my brain, because he was saying that he does like he updates every other one. So
And it I saw that cat just like dart past. But it makes sense, right? Like if it's not something, if the things in the update aren't something you immediately need or that you need in general, then you can just wait. And when you get the next update, all that stuff will be in it. So, you know, you'll still get it. But if you don't need it, then patience pays off.
Yeah, for sure. You can. I mean, you don't necessarily if you're just starting to get into Ableton or something like, or even if you're just getting straight into Logic or anything like that, you don't necessarily need to have the latest all bells, all dancing, or whistles.
At least
You
with
don't
Logic, it's
necessarily
free.
need to tweak. Exactly. You don't need it. You can just keep going. You know, it's fine. Just start picking it up. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
just make it sound good, dude.
Yep.
Make it sound good. That's what it's about.
Yep.
Those are the updates itself. Like we say, we will be doing some deeper dives in the coming weeks. We've got FCC coming in next week. So we'll be taking a break from news and gear in general. We'll be talking about website design and stuff like that. But then we will be going into it later. We'll be going into deeper dives when we've got it. We're not in a position where Ableton are going to approach us, for example, and say, "Hey, here's 12, show it." We're not in a position to do that, but I can tweet him. We'll tweet him and ask, but we'll see. I've been trying to email them for months, try and get certified training, and they haven't replied to me. So we'll have to see where it goes. But the point is, in the next couple of weeks, we will be doing some deeper dives into this, especially with the mastering assistant. That from Logic looks really good. So
we'll have a few things. We will do a deep dive, and we'll have some news in each of these episodes. Don't let Curtis fool you. Even in the one with FCC, that's just one topic of a few, but that's the main one because this is really important in this day and age as independent musicians. We all should have a main spot for us. But yeah, so next week we'll be talking with FCC. This is huge. We'll be talking all about web design, things you need to know if you need to get some basics of coding or maybe use a site like Wix or Squarespace, something like that. We're talking all about that. And then the week after that, we will have a live demo of Logic 10.8. And then the week after that, we'll be doing a very interesting comparison between Lander mastering and Apple's AI mastering. And then if anybody later wants to see what an AI master does versus what a mastering engineer does, we can always do that as well, because we do have mastering engineers here, so we can talk about that type of stuff. But we first want to just see, what are these AIs capable of, and do they do things differently? Do they have some differences? Because I was looking at the AI master for Logic, and when we covered the Lander plugin that they made, it's kind of similar to that. You can adjust the settings that it does and control things and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting to see, are they very similar? Are they different? Is one better than the other? Does one not push it over 0 decibels, please? Because that's some issues I've had before when someone sent me Lander masters and it was just like well over 0, just like way in the red at like +4. It's boom.
Wow.
Yeah. Might not have been Lander. I don't remember what it was, but it was one of those like AI mastering things, which just. But they might have pushed post what it did, you know, like that it did its thing, and then they're like, it's got to be louder, it's got to be louder. So, yeah, not throwing shade. That's why we want to see from our own perspective and our own ears what it can do and show you all.
Yeah. I love the niche where we can sit and we can do shootouts with different AI mastering techniques, and the people listening know exactly what we're talking about. Love it. I love it. So it's like, what are you talking about today? We're talking about AI mastering, and it's like, you know, yeah, all right, let's do it.
Well, this is like it's interesting. I mean, you and I keep talking about AI, and we keep bringing it up because there are very beneficial, helpful things with AI in terms of not necessarily music production, but like scheduling, doing sort of like SEO, things like that. It can be helpful, but it's not all there, you know, like where it will probably be as it grows exponentially and learns like that. But it's interesting, and it's just like, what can it do? Let's see what it can do. Like, can it do these sorts of things? Like, I did a video on my YouTube channel a while ago that was like, can ChatGPT write a song? And I just asked it to write every single piece, and then I made it as it was, and then when it sounded like crap, I edited it and made it sound, I added the human element. And that was what I was hoping that was what I was hoping the point of the video would be, is that the human element is always needed. But it's interesting with these AI masters, you have that you can adjust things after. So you can kind of add the human element, but you're stuck with the settings it's making, like this loudness, whatever it does in terms of what it calls loudness. That's what you're doing for limiting. That's what you're doing for adding color. This is like, you can't do the different plugins and know, oh, I could change the compressor from a VCA to opto or this, that, like all that, like you can't do that per se. So yeah.
So we're in for an interesting couple of weeks. That's in short. We're in for an interesting couple of weeks. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. Well, that about wraps up the news, but we do have what's going on. Eon, like, what are you up to this week? Besides being depressed about Logic.
I've been fooling around a lot with audio visual stuff, which seems to be a bit of a slow learning curve, actually. So I'm continuing to mess around with that. Well, there have been some interesting results that I kind of like, that give me ideas for things that I don't yet know how to do. So we'll see how that goes. But beyond that, just some more sound design, really, and overdubbing some tracks I'm working on. But I'm trying to find new and interesting sounds or processes to create sounds, and that, and not just dial up a synth. So yeah, trying to keep it playful and experimental.
That's the way to do it.
Yes, for sure.
And Curtis, what about you?
I am mapping. I've been doing lots of mapping, and basically I've been mapping vital to the monologue and to the control. And so the idea is to create basically have a Hydrosynth without having buying a Hydrosynth, and essentially that's what I want to do. So I've been mapping, and it's been going. It's getting better. I'm in Delta at the moment, like alpha, beta, gamma, etc. But I keep running into issues, and I'm trying to. I'm gonna maybe Steve can help. So I've been. It's pretty much all there. But there's still some bits to go, so I think I'll be doing that, as well as there's always mixing to do, isn't there? There's always mixing to do.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. Are you just gonna sit there for the rest of the show? Is that what you're gonna do? Okay, all right, fine. I was talking to Steve, for people listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, which is where this show goes after the live show on Wednesday. So if you're listening there, hello. I hope you've had an enjoyable time listening to this. If you like what we're doing, give it a thumbs up and a like. It goes a long way. That'd be really nice. But Sunwalker, what are you up to?
Well, in the past tense, I did a live stream on Monday. I tried a new day for live streaming, and it went really well at first. And then I use a little on my old phone. I make a remote for Streamlabs to control all the camera angles and stuff. And I, like Curtis, flew too close to the sun in my sleep-deprived brain and tried to do multiple camera angles. And I was working with the Digitact, which I'm still learning. But I was like, I think I can make it work. Like, I'll just keep it simple, and use the SP because that's like my go-to. Well, while I was doing the live stream, and it was going okay, it was going great. Like, I was having a lot of fun. The chat was lively. Like, we were all chilling. But I had the remote right next to the Digitact, and I somehow muted the audio output capture. And so the audio just like stopped. But you could hear me talk, right? So you could hear me talk. And because I wasn't wearing headphones, you could slightly hear the audio. And then so the chat's like, hey, the sound's gone. And so like chat and I are trying to diagnose the problem, right? Like we're going through, I quit Logic, I reopened Logic, I switched from my audio interface to the SP via USB-C to be the audio interface. We're doing all this, nothing's working. So I have to end the stream, make a part 2, which like, of course, some people weren't able to, get to because they just went on their way or whatever, which is fine. But so that was like a total bummer. But I figured out what the sound was. Like I said, I just with my pinky hit mute on that and couldn't figure it out. And I was like, oh, Occam's razor will switch the audio interface because that's it. And I like kept diagnosed. No, it was just this stupid little mute button that I couldn't see, but I fixed it for part 2. So now I really like the beat. So I want to do it justice. So that's what I said when I say I'm filming today. I'm gonna add an intro, add an outro, and add a new version of the jam, and then edit the live stream to be a video to do that song justice. So that's been fun. And then I have a song out tomorrow. It's like, oh,
Dude,
I forgot about that. So I have Lost
talk about
Coast,
that
which
one.
marks 5 years. That's the first song I made as Sunwarper. So that I remade it, and that's coming out on Music for Imagine Landscapes. So that's what I'll be doing, promo, doing all that, and then editing videos and all that. It's fun. I don't know, Curtis, if you saw this in the chat, but Pat said, just buy a Hydrosynth. If only money wasn't an issue, right?
I know if it wasn't for the 50, well, if it wasn't for the amount of money it is, I would buy it tomorrow. I've got a very old aged MIDI keyboard here, which is getting used less and less, and I'm like, perfect. But hey, might have to wait for a little bit longer for that one. We'll see.
Yeah, you can
So
always
that's what
you can always help him out if you get value and stuff. Just head to the Patreon. Help him get a Hydrosynth.
I will do the deepest of dives on the Hydrosynth. I'll do 3 weeks worth of content on the Hydrosynth. That's where we're at. I think that is everything that we've got for today. It's 21:21, which in Prague at least, which suggests that it's a good time. That's a good witchy number in which to wrap up the show.
20, it's 12:21 here. I like that we still have the double 1-2. Just mine is flipped and yours. Yeah, that's nice. That's fitting. Yeah, yin and yang, man.
And yang, yin and yang. It's wonderful. I think, unless Ilnik, is there anything else that you wish to say before we dive off the show today?
No, love to the patrons. Thanks to everyone for listening. Spending your time with us.
I do have one thing I want to say, but I'm slightly hesitant to bring it up given my misgivings with the said company. But I do want to help support all the artists that are on it. But we have a playlist on Spotify, Audionautic Radio playlist. It's got all of the latest and chill electronic music from independent artists like all of us. If you are not on there, but you've got music that might fit, and let us know. You can drop it in the Discord. We have a channel for it, or you can message me at Sunwarper on any social, and I'll give it a listen and see if it fits. As of now, it's a great way to support independent artists, but given all of Spotify's craziness, which is a nice segue to the fact that if you're not familiar with what's going on with Spotify, we've got a clip on YouTube, long form video content from the live streams we make that takes the 2 weeks of our coverage on Spotify and all the crazy stuff they're doing with royalties, where they're upping and creating a payout threshold of 1,000 streams. So if you don't meet 1,000 streams for one per song in a year, they're just not going to give you that money. That's what it's been reported as. It's been confirmed by distributors, but Spotify still hasn't said anything about it. But if you want to catch up why they're doing it or the supposed reasons they're doing it and what's happening, what you can expect to come in January or 2024, that's there. I'll put a link to it in the description after, but if you just head to the channel, you'll see it. But yeah, it's interesting times with all this stuff, and that's why I keep saying good to have a website.
And I don't know if anyone's noticed before we go, Eon Lake has a wonderful t-shirt on today.
Oh yeah, if you don't mind me, I'm gonna ask you, Eon Lake, but yeah, I'm gonna solo Eon Lake so he can promote his awesome Eon Lake t-shirt. There you go.
Not quite ready for the general public yet, but yeah, an early
prototype.
Yeah, prototype.
Yeah, you're beta testing.
Yeah,
then we shrink it down to fit on the bucket hat.
Yeah, we are all waiting for that bucket hat, my friend.
It's gonna be awesome. It looks great. Eon Lake has got some amazing stuff in the pipeline. So I assume the t-shirt is to accompany that as we begin the talks of entering 24.
Possibly, yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Speaking of which, before we go, a little bit of an idea. If let us know what you're up to. Let us know what you're planning. Anything big for the year. We are planning more and more ahead as the weeks go on, and we are coming up towards the end of 2023, starting in the new year. We're curious to know what you guys listening are planning. If you are planning anything for the next year, have you got any releases coming out? Is there anything that you're looking to achieve on your journey as you do? we'd love to hear from you. Head over to the Discord and chat about it. We love hearing what you're up to.
Yeah. And we typically
yeah.
have a year-end episode where we talk goals for the next year. Did we meet goals we had for the year before? So if you want us to read what you're planning and things like that, let us know. Post it in the Discord. Yeah, it's always nice to kind of get a plan and then look back the year that happened and see like, hey, did I hit those goals? Like, did I need to shift those goals? Things like that. It's just good to do, and we love doing it, and we love talking about it with you all and seeing where we're all at and where we can all go, because together we grow, as we always say. Curtis, you want anything else before we go?
No, there's lots of O's there. I think that's a good poetry to lean on. Just thank you ever so much for listening. It's been wonderful to hear what everyone's up to, and again, the chat talking back and forth. It's beautiful, and thank you ever so much for joining and being a part of this.
Yeah, definitely. I love Survey Channel's comment. A show, fellas. A great one. Had us in the first half, not gonna lie. No. As FCC says, great show. See you all next week. Appreciate all of you hanging out. We can continue talking about all this stuff and any future things in the Discord. Links in the description. We'll hang out over there. And yeah, until next week, we'll see you Wednesday at 11 Pacific, 7 p.m. UTC.
There you go. Very good, brother.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. All right. Always a pleasure. See you next week.